Pink Poodle Crafts, join the Poodle Pack. It's time to get creative and make you laugh. Make your own art today. Pink Poodle Crafts is the way.
What a good boy.
Hey crafty family, it's me again. And I have this ready to be decorated. Our little telescoping pocket doohickey thingamabob. That's what it is. So we're going to decorate it. Why not? So I figured that to play it safe so that I don't have to worry about whether or not the paper is going to be too thick, I'm going to stick to a thin, a thin scrap of paper to decorate it, because I don't have to do a thin one on this one, just for everything else, because of the fact that it's could potentially make this harder for it to, collapse in on itself. So I've got this book of paper which has some vintagey stuff in it. And I'm going to do either some photos or some vintage scrapbook paper. Probably photos actually would be better, because I don't want to put any more than one layer on it, really, because again, that would double it. So I'm thinking maybe I should I have some like things that might be nicer to put on there if they'll fit, and I'm hoping they will. Some of them. If not, no big deal, but I'm hoping to fit them on there without having to put any kind of background, which might be a problem, without any kind of framing or whatever. I'll get one of these guys on there, but I really would rather have like a photo or something. I don't know. I'm knocking things over. Let's see. Go further back in this pile of stuff, which I have no idea what's over here. I'm assuming maybe I don't have any photos over here. Maybe not. Here, I thought I did. Oh, here we go. There's a couple things here. Oh, we could put this one on here, maybe. That's weird. Maybe that. Let's cut that out and see what the heck that looks like. Might be a little too narrow, but I mean, I could, go through the trouble of actually going on the computer and sizing some of my graphics to perfectly fit, but I'm just like kind of doing this on a whim. And actually I should do some copied paper, really. These might be too thick. Dang it. Oh, I just realized that. I really should, obviously, print some out from copy paper. Shoot. Let me think of how to do this. I wonder if the thin scrapbook paper and then, well, you know what? Who cares? Let's just put some scrapbook paper down, and then if for some reason I want to put a picture or something, I'll just do it. And I'll deal with the consequences later, and we'll test out and see if it'll be too crazy. So, this way. So we can do that and kind of see how much trouble that causes us. And the pencil's gone. Where'd the pencil go? Here's another one. I don't measure things. I just mark and then I cut. I mark and cut. That's my plan for everything. Alright, we'll need Carl. We need Mr. Carl up here. He's gonna have to do the cutting. Oh, here's the other pencil. A lot of good you do me now. pencil. Turn it this way. Alright, so there's one. Oops, this way. I'm assuming I'm going to pull it out from the right. Did I cut that wrong? I may have not lined it up very well. No, it's fine. Okay, so we have that page. And then we can do maybe this one, which is, I think, coordinating to that paper. Maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do that on the last one, and we'll do like this one here on this side. And this one. Try to line that sucker up. That one's cut wonky, doesn't it? Well, my desk is a bit crowded. It's a bit crowded over here. Let's see, this one. Cut this away. I guess I should go all the way. And I should probably do it this way. Alright, so that can go on there. And then for the little one, I'll do this flowered one. Make sure it's pulled all the way out when I do it so I don't accidentally measure it wrong or something. That would suck. I think I'll go right over the tab. Paper, isn't that so much fun? It's such a fun task to just cut paper. Yippee, yippee, yippee. Alright, so we got these three done. And for the outside, I'll get to that in a minute. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, no, 1, 2, 3 going that way. Move this out of the way so I have room in here, because otherwise I'm too crowded around here. Too crowded. Alright, so we've got 1. And I got 2. Which I probably left too much white on this. And then we've got 3. Alright, I need to fix. First I need to get in here because I forgot about that. To just get rid of some of this white. So this is where it's going to get difficult because I can't get in there. That's great. I could use a tool or a brush, but I'll make it work. I ain't picky about it. The messier, the better. Besides, you can take a baby wipe and kind of smooth out your ink since it's a water-soluble ink. Now, if it's a permanent ink, you can't do that, but that ink I can do that with. Give it a little inking. A little stinking inking. And then we could tape these suckers on and see how well it goes back in with that on there. Thin paper is so hard to ink. It's persnickety. Did you guys hear about that dust storm that's coming from the Sahara? We get them all the time, but apparently this one's like much, much bigger and thicker dust. So apparently, like, we might feel it this weekend in Tennessee. I'm like, great. That's what 2020 needs now, is a desert dust storm coming across the country. Because we haven't had enough going on in this year. Like, give me a break. Okay, that's still wet. Tried to dry it with my nasty paint rag, but didn't work out so well. Alright, let's try to tape it. I'm going to get as close to the edge as I can because I don't want any reason for that to get caught on the lip of the opening when it's going back in. Hopefully it won't. I'd use glue, but I just don't feel like dealing with that. Oh no, don't do that. Alright, let's try sticking this on there and see how we do. Alright, this is, since I'm doing it this way this time, well, I'll do it from the top still. I have weird ways that I do things. I peel off the tape in some places, and then I line it up, and then I go back, and when it's lined up, I take the rest off. It prevents me from having issues. And I can usually line it up pretty well that way without making it a hot mess. It doesn't help that I didn't cut the paper very straight, but that's all right. Okay, there's one paper. Cross our fingers. Okay, seems to be no problem. Next. Do it this way. Next, I'll put the other two on and then I'll test it again and see if it gets any stickier than that. I wanted to do the back side too with at least paper or something, or maybe like journal spots. I'm nervous with all those layers that it's gonna get harder and harder for my pockets to go in. now. It'll stick into my fingers. Number 2. And then the last one. And then we'll see if we can safely put pictures on it. I'm just afraid that if I put too much, it's going to put, like, I don't know, it's not going to work or something. It's going to get too thick and then it's somehow going to hinder its ability to slide in and out, which is very possible if I don't take some precautions to be careful. You definitely can't put like dimensional embellishments on it, but that's okay. I don't need to do that. I just want to be able to put like a photograph or like a vintage photograph or something to that effect. Or a sentiment maybe. I don't know which way is up and which way is down. I don't think it matters with this paper. Where'd it go? Thought I had it good, but there we go. Whoops. Don't go in yet. Tape down first. Tape down your edges. Alright. Let's see. No, it's not too bad. I mean, it was always a little... Yeah, seems to be okay. Seems to be okay to me. Alright, let's try adding like some photographs that are thicker on top of the paper. Like for instance, like that photo and some of these other photos, and see if at any point it gets weird and doesn't want to comply with my rules. Maybe it won't want to comply with my little rules. Maybe we'll put her down there. Okay, maybe she can go there. Maybe I can do a little to the edges of the picture to make it a little bit more interesting looking. Maybe ink the edges, which this is a glossy photo, so I'll need the stays on in the brown so that it will stay on. But I need to find my tool. Where the hell did my tool go? Whoa. Avalanche. Oh, I think I know where it is. It's in here. Somewhere. Right? Right. No? Maybe it's not in there. Gotta be somewheres over here. Excuse you. Get out of my way. Beep beep. Where the hell did my tools go? Did all my inking tools go? Oh, there it is. Never mind. I found it. Found it. I tried to hide, but I found it anyway. I don't think I use that one with... I usually have one that I use for alcohol ink because for some reason alcohol ink like tears up your ink, your foam pads quicker. So like I have this one I think I was using for this because you could tell because it's like it tears it up. Alcohol ink stays on. Well, stays on is an alcohol based, and I think it's why it tears up my foam pads really fast. Unlike, you know, water-soluble ink, which doesn't really do that as quickly. The alcohol in the StazOn definitely makes that happen a lot quicker. Excuse you. Excuse you. Stinky inky. That will go there. And I'll put a little tape and I'll glue the edges since they are hard to tape. But I want them to stick down because obviously you don't want anything that can like get caught on this going in. So if I didn't make sure the edges were glued down, it could easily do that and then cause a problem as it went in. So you want to make sure that you put whether it's tape or glue on the very edge of whatever you're doing to make sure it's got good edge to edge contact. And like in this case, I'll put it on the edge, but then I'll use glue on those things to make sure that they stay down because I don't want them to be popping up and getting caught under there, which they would, knowing me. So I don't want that happening. Why this is unraveling so quickly. So tape. I'm gonna cut some of that off. Made it too long. Too long. Down. Alright, and then I need some glue. What did I do with the glue? There it is. It's hiding. I'm going to put a little bit of the glue in the middle because I forgot to put some tape in the middle. I'm going to put some there, and on here, and there, and there. Whoa, I don't want you upside down, lady. Just obviously want to wait for the glue to dry before I put it in because if there is any oozing, which there is, I don't want it to be getting stuck. Making my little finger get stuck in there. That would suck. That would suck rocks. Just going to pat any of the excess glue. I can see the little holes. Cool. Okay. Now let's see. We can put one on here. Or will this lady fit? She'll fit. I may have to cut her a little bit, but cut her a little down to size. But I think that one, I like that one. So we will give it a try. Yeah, we're going to have to cut it on the top and the bottom. Where's my cutter? Like that. A little more cut on the bottom. That should be good. Let's see. I'll cut a little off the side too. Back here. Cool. Cool beans. I'm going to do this again around the whole thing. Whoa. And ink it. Because if I didn't use StazOn on a glossy photo, and I tried to use a water soluble, it wouldn't dry. It would take forever to dry if it dried at all, and it would end up smearing everywhere. So whenever you're dealing with glossy photo, if you can get yourself one of the brown colors from StazOn, or I think even archival and whatnot, then you'll be better off in the long run. We need a photo for here, and I don't know if I have any that are like portrait besides that one, which is way too big. Or not portrait, I mean landscape. I can use like a little one. I may have to. Let me look real quick down here and see if there's something. Let's have some more pictures here. Some more there. How do I not have any that are... Oh wait, this one might work, this ballerina chick, but it might be too big too. Dang it. And I just dropped one of them into the garbage can. Get back here. You don't want that. No garbage photos. Well, I guess that's all I have as far as pictures. So we'll just grab one of the smaller ones. It's a little big. She's showing her booty. Probably use like one of these, like that one maybe. Work. That'll work. Probably still use this thingy without it cutting cutting into her head. Oh, but don't cut into her head, I'm alright. Let's see, what I can do is put it here and then put a little sentiment here. And I think I'll do that with this one maybe. Yeah, because I like where it says Duchess right there. So I might put that one to the side as well. Sounds good to me, I say. Oh, squeaky. I'm sure there's another way to make these little contraptions. Maybe there's a better way. I don't know if there is, because I couldn't find a video of anybody making any. So I don't know. I've seen this type of thing before, but like not in like crafting or journaling or card making or what have you. If it was something like this, it was like, I don't know where I've seen it. Probably like some sort of, it wasn't this long. It would be like two, maybe like this. It would come out and it'd be like maybe like an invitation, like a fancy wedding invitation. I don't know, but I know I've seen it somewhere. I just can't place exactly where it was. But I've seen something done like that, like a long time, like a while back. It wasn't done by like anybody on YouTube though. Not that I was able to see. Because I'm sure I would have, if it was somebody that did it on YouTube, I would have wanted to try it, you know. And this is something I seen probably years ago before I was back into like doing paper crafting and stuff. But I know I've seen things where it pulls out like that. I just don't remember exactly where. It just surprises me that I couldn't find a video on it, because I was like for sure thinking I was going to find a video that was going to show me how to do it so that I could just do it, you know. I just wanted to do it and get it over with. But then I was like, oh, I have to sit here and figure it out myself. Which I normally like to do, but I was just kind of like not in the mood. I was like lazy. I just wanted to do it. I just wanted somebody to tell me how to do it. Like, why do I have to do work? Luckily, it only took like a little over an hour to I had like one prototype thing, and it wasn't working as well as I wanted it to, so I figured out a few little things that I could do to fix it, and that's when I made the other one that I showed in the beginning of the last video. And that one seemed to hold, like be a little sturdier, I guess, is the word I'm looking for. So that's why. I'm sure it would be even sturdier with like chipboard, but chipboard's not going to work well with folding in half, and then to get it to fold in together is going to be difficult, because even though it would be sturdy, it's going to be too thick and you wouldn't be able to do anything with it. So that's why I went with like cardstock. And I thought of a way to do it with brads. Maybe I'll put her out here. I was thinking of a way to do it initially with brads, like to like slide or something, but then I realized that the brads would be thick and they would get too thick for the thing, and it would probably hinder the ability for it to move very well. So I was like, is there a way to do it without brads? And that's when I was like, duh, I can just make a little thingy. All right, let's see. It's not going in any different. I'm just struggling because you got to get it nice and straight when you put it in. Oh yeah, that's fine. Nice. Well, that means I could do the back too, because it doesn't seem to be at all hindered by that Not even a little bit. Sweet. Nice. So I guess you can, as long as you use thin scrapbook paper. I don't know if 2 layers of like something thick. I don't know. I guess it should be fine. I don't see why not, actually. I'm just being paranoid, I guess. Thinking that it would be a problem, you know? So, but I don't think it will be. I don't think it would be a problem. I think it would be okay. Let's see. We've got some little doohickeys. Let's see. Sentiments here. Let's do this one. It says, go where your heart takes you. Well, where my heart takes me, I can't afford to go. My heart takes me to Disney World or Hawaii, or but it's too expensive. Mickey Mouse needs to lower his damn prices. It really is expensive to go to Disney World. It's insane. Who the hell's got that kind of money? It was expensive 20 years ago when I went. It's gotten worse. Crazy. And there are people that buy season passes, which are much better priced, but it's only worth it if you live near Disney, and I don't, and I don't never want to. Not in Florida anyway, because I don't want to live in Florida. I don't like it there. I'd live in California before I lived in Florida. But California is way too expensive. See, it's cheaper to live in Orlando, or that area, Florida in general, pretty much. But it's kind of the area around Disney is not the greatest area in the world, so to live in that area, There are other places that are okay to live in Florida, but my parents had a house in Florida, so we spent a lot of time there, but I don't know, I just didn't like it enough. I like it to visit, but I don't want to live there, type of thing, you know. It's a nice place to visit, but I don't want to live there. I keep thinking that's like a speck of, there's like this little speck, and I keep thinking that it's like gonna go away if I do that, but it's not, because I'm an idiot. And I keep forgetting it's a little stain from the ink I got because of that little thing falling apart. Oh man, there's enough glue on there, I'm sure. Because that little foam thing falling apart, it like flakes everywhere, and so these little flakes get on things, and then if you're not careful, it can leave a mark. But yeah, Florida is just not my cup of tea. I guess because I spent a lot of time there as a kid and I just was over it, you know. A lot of times I was bored when I was there when I was a kid, and that was because there was nothing really to do, and it was always hot in the summer, and I didn't like it. And I don't like the landscape there. To me, that's fun to visit, but I'm not into like the palm trees and stuff. I like, you know, I kind of like mountains and like normal trees and stuff. I like the ocean. That's why I kind of like wish I still lived in New Jersey, sort of, because you got best of both worlds there. You got the mountains, and then you're not far from the ocean either. And California's kind of like that too, so. That's why I said I could probably live in California, but you have to be rich to live in California. Let's see. How about today is full of possibilities? Cut this. It must be, oh, it's like 5 o'clock in the morning. See, I was supposed to get other things done today. That's why I was like annoyed that I had to figure this out. And then I was like, well, I might as well do a video if I'm just going to make it. Because I have other things I have to get done. But I also wasn't feeling good earlier today. So I didn't do a whole lot because I was afraid I was going to further not feel good. I didn't feel good the other day either and was sick all day on Sunday. So I thought today was almost going to be a repeat of that, but it wasn't. It just, I was like blah. So I kind of like took it easy / did minimal things. Still got a few things done, but not very much. All right. Okay. Today is full of possibilities. Today is full of poop. There we go. Now we just need a little decoration for there. Like I can even put that on there. That's good. I ain't picky. I ain't picky about it. That actually fits pretty well without me having to do very much. Actually, it would be good if I bent it over yonder, covered that. Maybe I should wait until I have the other paper on. Maybe I'll just cut this here and then I'll wait till I put the paper on the back. I'll save that. And then I'm going to do the front cover. What we can put on the front cover? Now this I can put something pretty on. It doesn't matter what it is. I can do what I want to do. Kind of like this. I like this one. And that paper is Romance Novel by Prima. I think that's one of the one Angela gave me. She brought over a bunch of paper, and there was some Prima packs in there. And I think that was one of them. Is that crooked? This thing cuts weird sometimes. It doesn't cut. It don't like to be straight sometimes. Definitely has some issues. I don't know. I'll have to see when I cut this side. I'll know when I get it on here, I guess. I still have to ink it before I stick it. I guess it's okay. Yeah, it's fine. I don't know why I thought it was crooked. Who knows? Who knows why I think anything? Okay. And we need to ink this one up. I like Prima scrapbook paper. The only Prima I have, I think, is just these small, a couple of these small ones that I'd gotten from either, like Angela gave me a few, and then I don't remember where I got the other ones. I don't think I've ever purchased them because they were always a little on the expensive side. I do wish I had a few of the bigger ones, though. They don't sell them in, like, Joann's, not Prima. And the craft stores typically don't have them. I wonder why. Yeah, that's weird why they don't have them. I guess maybe because they want them. Maybe they're, I don't know, maybe they're too much money and Joann's doesn't want to put out the money for them. I don't know. Because they're more expensive than regular scrapbook. Scrapbook, typical 12x12 scrapbook thingies. They're not as cost effective. And so Joann's usually has theirs at a certain price. Like all of them are pretty much similar price. They don't have, I mean, they could get them and just consider them a specialty type of paper. And, you know, if they're going to be a little more money, I don't know. I don't know. Because people sure do buy the spit out of them online. So, Prima's losing out on some dollar bills by not having them in the craft stores. Maybe they're in craft stores by you. I don't know. But they're never in mine. Never see them in mine. Or like Tuesday mornings where you see like closeout stuff. I never see Prima. I've seen Bow Bunny, but not in stores. But I've seen it in Tuesday morning. And I'd be like, oh, wonder what store was selling this. You know, like where was this being sold at? Because I never see it in stores, but I saw it on their website. Oh, I did the wrong side, didn't I? No, I didn't. Okay. I still have to do ink that side, but for some reason I thought I was on the wrong side. Duh. Now I do need to turn it that way for a minute, though. But yeah, I don't know how come the craft stores don't sell the nicer papers. Like Graphic 45. Like, how come they don't want to put their stuff in, you know... I'm trying to think, is any Prima product sold in the craft store? Have I ever bought any of it in the craft stores? I'm trying to think. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever bought a Prima. Oh, flowers. I've seen the Prima flowers in the craft store. That's it, though. That's all I can remember offhand. Cute. But I've not seen anything else that I can recall. I better do the back of this, ink it and all that poop, and find something to put back here. So I guess they have stuff in stores if they have the flowers in there. But I wonder why not the scrapbook paper. Well, not in my stores anyway. I've not seen it in Michael's. I've not seen it in Joann's. I wonder why. It's a conspiracy. I do my dirty ass rag. Dirty ass rag, not dirty ass rag. That would be a totally different thing. We ain't going there. Alright, what are we putting on the back? Something out of here too? Something out of here? What do we have on the front? If I put... Where'd that piece go? And a piece of paper down here on the floor. And I can't find it. Oh, there it is. I think maybe this on the back. Oh, look at that, it fits. I don't think I have to do much. Cool. I could be lazy and just cut it in one place. That's what I'm talking about. Laziness. It's good for you. This cutter always deceives me. It makes me feel like it's not going to cut straight sometimes. And it throws me off. Okay. I've been screaming for years that craft stores need to carry more mixed media stuff. I don't know why the hell they don't. Like, I know there's a lot of card makers and stuff out there, but there's a ton of mixed media people. And yeah, I know they sell like some things. They sell a couple of things. Like they sell Tim Holtz, but it's like very generic. You know, the main people that do, you know, mixed media, and that's like Diane Reevely and Tim Holtz. But they don't have like certain things that they should have. I don't know. I can't like for instance, Prima. They've got a ton of like really cool mixed media stuff, like the rust pastes and the patina pastes and all the different crackle paste and the sparkle paste and this paste and that paste, and they don't sell any of that. At least not in my craft store. And then there's a lot of things they don't sell as far as like mixed media goes. They don't have enough. They just don't have enough. It drives me nuts because it's like they don't pay attention to what their customers are doing. They're not, I've said this 100 times, like they need to go on to YouTube and see what people are using, because it's almost like they don't. And who knows, maybe those companies that make those things don't want to sell at big box stores because they don't want to, maybe those big box stores expect to get it practically next to nothing or something, and Prima's like, heck no, I make more money selling it online. You know, who knows what the reason is, but But man, it sucks that you can't. What was I going to do? There's no tape on this, and I was about to try to peel tape off of it. Duh. But it just sucks that you can't get those things locally. You have to wait for it, you know. And a lot of times you can't get it on Amazon because Amazon will have some things, and either if it is a good price, it's rare. And other times it's like, you know, you'll pay for, let's say, a $4 bottle of spray, something or other, you know, like some sort of ink spray or whatever. If you go to Amazon to look for it, it'll be like $12.99 for this one bottle. But if you go to any other craft store website like scrapbook.com or, you know, Joggles or one of those sites or whatever, they'll have it for, you know, like $3.50 or, you know, so it'll be cheaper, but you have to wait because of course it takes like a week for it to get to you, sometimes 2 weeks. So it's kind of like sucky that you can't just go online and either get it from a good price on Amazon or just run to Joann's and get it that day, you know, because if it's something you want, you don't want to wait. We're all impatient. The internet has made us all impatient. Amazon Prime has made us all impatient because, I mean, I can't even get things same day. I can't even get things next day. It takes, you know, it's 2 day. I have 2 day shipping around here. I don't know why. We have an Amazon warehouse in Nashville. So why we can't get things the same day is beyond me, but it takes 2 days, which to me is not so bad. I mean, that's great to me. I'm not complaining about that, believe me, but I'm always like shocked when people are getting things next day or same day. I'm just like, really? I'm like, that would be dangerous for me. I'd just be like on a whim and go, I really feel like this today. Just go on Amazon. Oh, look, I can have it in 2 hours. It's like, what the hell? It's made us all like so lazy and just we all want convenience. So the second we have to wait for something, we're going to start yelling. We're going to become, you know, people who just the second we have to wait for something, we're going to be like, damn it. I mean, I was already like that before. I can't imagine like how much worse it's going to get in another 10 years, you know, if somebody makes you wait more than a half an hour when you order something online. You mean to tell me you don't have 30-minute shipping? What's wrong with you? Because in 10 years, you know, that's how it's going to be. You know, we'll be able to just like pretty much we'll have a box in our house that has a tube that goes up like at the bank. And you just push a button and it'll go, whatever it is will come to you. That's what's going to happen in 10 years. We're all going to be nuts at that point. Nobody's ever going to leave their house. It'll be like that movie WALL-E. Have you ever seen it? Where they're all sitting in the chairs. They're not paying attention to anything. They're just looking at a screen. And they just travel around a chair. They're big fat blobs. That's going to be us in 10, 20 years. Oh, that's the back. I was about to get nervous and be like, oh no. I decorated the wrong side. For years, I've always said that about the bank sucky thing, the vacuum sucky thing. I'm like, why can't we have one of those in our house and things just arrive? And then Amazon came into, because I said that like years ago. This was like back, when I was probably from when I was a teenager all the way up. I used to always say it when my mom would take me with her and we'd go to the bank, and I'd always be like, man, we need to get one of those in our house, and they can just give us money and objects, and we don't even have to go to the grocery store. It'll just come into this little thing in the house. My mom would laugh at me. And then we got Amazon. And I wish my mom was around for Amazon, because I do and I don't. Because if my mom was still alive and they had Amazon, she died in 2000, and there was no Amazon back then. And if there was like this Amazon thing back then, when my mom was around, oh my God, she was already a shopper, like whether not as much online, a little bit. She was definitely, but she would like QVC. She was always ordering stuff from QVC, and all those places. And I mean, I guess she did some online shopping. I'm trying to think, because this was 2000. Yeah. I mean, they obviously had online shopping. I'm just trying to think, but I know she did. I know there are some things she did buy, but I mean, it wasn't like crazy though, because I think a lot of things weren't. In 2000, the internet was only 6 years old, because it really came into play around 1994, 95. So yeah, so 2000, it was like, I don't remember there being a whole lot you can buy online. I remember it kind of was getting started around that time, like where it was getting to be, it was starting to be a thing, you know what I mean? But I don't think it was like as widespread, you know, it certainly wasn't as widespread as it is now, but I think that didn't happen until like the mid first decade of the, you know, 2000s, like 2000. I remember ordering stuff online a lot more in like 2007, 2008, 2009. I think that's like when it really, really was starting to become like a major way to shop. And then when they started doing like the online grocery orders and you could get your groceries delivered and you just do it online, and that stuff only happened a few years ago, and that became like so crazy at that point when all that stuff happened. It just got nuts. But man, my mom, she would have shopped her ass off, I'll tell you. She would have made my father broke with her online shopping, I guarantee it. She did do online, I know she did like online gambling a little bit, because that was back when it was first starting to like rear its head, a little bit of like the online slot machines and stuff. I know she did a little bit of that. I remember her telling me about that, but not a whole incredibly, not a ton, but I do remember that. It was a thing. And I always thought, like, that's so rigged. I don't know why she would think that it wasn't rigged, but I would be like, why the hell are you doing that? It's crazy. I've got this, like, chunky glitter paper, or I thought there was a piece of, like, embossed gold paper in here. Let's see. Or just a regular. Maybe there's not any that's the right size. Okay, I'll do the gold, that's fine. This is going to be hard because nothing likes to stick to this stuff. Maybe the tape will. Maybe. I could try it. I do want to use this. It's just crazy how things went so fast from, you know, the inception of the internet. It's only been like 25 years. I mean, and it's like the whole world has like changed so drastically in that time because of the internet. If we didn't have internet, like, it would just be crazy. If internet didn't come into fruition when it did, you know, and it just didn't happen. I mean, computers wouldn't be as big of a thing, because what the hell would people, you know what I mean? Like, people would buy computers to play video games or whatever, like, you know, video game consoles and stuff. That probably would have evolved. But it's just crazy to think that because of computers, how much has, you know, cell phones, you know, computers and cell phones, or the internet and cell phones kind of went hand in hand, I would imagine. I think. Didn't they? Well, I mean, I guess not. Well, there were cell phones back in the day, because my dad had one of those ones that was like a big box, and you had a strap on it you carry it with you. It was ridiculous, and he barely can ever get a signal on the thing. It was such a waste. But, and it was so expensive. God, if you made a phone call, it was like, even for like 2 minutes, it was like $20. It was so ridiculous. But, I mean, so I guess maybe cell phones would have gotten, because that's really, I mean, not smartphone maybe, but cell phones. Because you wouldn't have needed a smartphone, I guess, if you didn't have internet. That's weird. I wonder how it would have went. If there was no internet, how would have cell phones evolved? Would they have just been just data? You know, like just over cell towers, that's it? Because obviously you don't need the internet to use a cell phone. So I guess cell phones would have still been around. Would have, you know, still been gotten evolved into a bigger thing, I guess. Maybe. I don't know. Because, well, I mean, because of cell phones or because of the internet, that's why computers have gotten so fast so quickly. Because back in the day, you know, a computer, right? So a computer processor from like 1985 to like 1992, prior to, you know, pre-internet or whatever, didn't change that much. You know what I mean? Like the computer technology wasn't that crazy different. So and it's probably because, you know, computers were a luxury item and not everybody had one and not everybody had a need for one, you know, because most people didn't need a computer. You know, we had an Apple IIe back in the, I don't know, 80s, whenever the hell that was. And it's like, it was useless. My mom wanted it, and all she ever did was play a stupid game on it, and that's it. Like, you know, like, so it's like, if it wasn't for the internet, the computers wouldn't have evolved as quickly as they have, which means, you know, if there was no internet and it was just cell phones, would they have still evolved into being? Because like cell phones got smaller because they, like I said, they used to be these big boxes, which most of you know that. But would they have stayed really big and clunky, but maybe got better with connections? However, the phones themselves not get very small because there was no push for the technology. I don't know. Or would they have been like really expensive still? I wonder what it would have been like. Would it, you know, I wonder if there was like, they should do like a documentary on that. Like, what would it have been like in 2020 if the internet had never been invented? I'm so curious because obviously I don't have the answers to that because I'm somewhat tech savvy, but not like, I don't know the ins and outs of what came first, the chicken or the egg, when it came to like the technology for it. What would have had to happen for cell phone technology to go in the same direction it has been? Did we need the internet for that? And it's like, but you know, these companies they would know this. So it would be really fascinating to see a documentary like that. Like, what would life be like in 2020? What would have actually, you know, what would have advanced without the internet? You know, no internet, like what would have been the advancements if there wasn't internet? Because there very could easily have been no internet, you know, even though it was kind of being in use in the 70s for like, you know, different things. But what if it was only like, what if it was never put in use for the public and it was only like government, you know, or whatever, and it never was put into use for people? Like, what would have happened? Like, what would we be doing in 2020? Would they have put more energy into cars? Or, I don't know. Like TVs, maybe? You would have sat around and, like, there would have been a lot more buying stuff off of the television. I don't know. I mean, because think about it. If we didn't have internet, we wouldn't have Netflix. We wouldn't have YouTube. We wouldn't have all those, like, online services. So we'd still be watching TV every day. And that would be our entertainment. So maybe the TVs would have gotten more technology, would have been put into that, because what other entertainment would there have been besides what there was, you know? Unless they came out with like, maybe they would have come out with like entertainment as in like places you go. They would have come out with weird entertainments and weird thrill rides and weird things that we don't have now because they didn't have a reason to advance all that stuff because we had computers and computers did everything for us. And that was our entertainment too. Do you know what I mean? Like, so many things would have been so weird and different. I would just love to see what they'd speculate would have happened based on what was already, like, where was the projection of things going towards the future right before the internet hit, and and skip the internet, what would have still been moving forward? I don't know. That stuff fascinates me. I'd love to see like a documentary on something like that, because that would be interesting as all get out. A zero internet world. Because, yeah, the internet has made everybody's lives different. Every single person. There's nothing in the world, I think, besides maybe the invention of broadcast television, that has had such an impact on the world as much as, you know, the internet has. Nothing. You can't name anything that's had that much of an impact on everybody. Not just like, you know, not just general things like this, that, or the other industry, or this, like one particular thing. Everything is affected by the internet. Everything. Can you imagine if one day it just stopped working, or something was just gone? Everybody'd go batshit crazy. The whole world would collapse. People would go insane. And it's funny because, like, if you think about it, if the internet ever did go offline for more than 24 hours, let's say, just the whole internet, I don't know, not that it could, because it's, you know, it's not just like one, it's not a place, it's not like, oh, internet, you know, Indiana, and that's where the base of the internet is, and without that, it, because it runs on, you know, it runs on everybody. All of us contribute to the internet, which is why it's there, you know, so everything we do is the internet. So you put a video up on YouTube, you are part of the internet and what makes it work. So, you know, it's all the computers connected and all that. But I mean, if for some reason, like all the internet it just backfired and it all was like overloaded and it just died, and it was gonna, you know, and it was out for like a month, the economy would crash. There would be so much that would happen because of it. It would be so hard for people to do their job because they'd have, it would be insane. They'd have to go back to the way it was pre-internet and do the job, which would be hard to do nowadays because they don't have any of that stuff anymore. You know, you don't have all the forms and the things and all that. People, you know, they go to work, they don't even have telephones. They just do everything over their computer. So they wouldn't have like, because they use like internet telephone and stuff a lot of times in offices and stuff. They wouldn't even have that. They'd have to rewire a bunch of old clunky telephones, and God, it would be crazy. That would be insane. Actually, I'm going to put some of this down. Everybody's utilities would probably get shut off because we all deal with them online. Now you can actually go and pay them, but still, you wouldn't have any money to do it if your job wasn't functioning and you couldn't do your job. Business would go out. That would be crazy. It would be absolute insanity. Let's hope that never happens. That would be worse than any kind of pandemic. Alright, would you just hang on a minute? I'm trying to figure out where to cut this at. Well, there's got to be a dimension. You know how they say that there's all kinds of, you know, there's all kinds of universes that are like Earth out there that are just like another dimension of Earth. It's got to be one that doesn't have internet yet. Let's try to go there. We'll travel there. Travel to the place that has no internet. Well, that would be crazy. I have to put this down with some of this because I don't know if the sticky dudes are gonna get through this as well without that glue there. Maybe. Let's see. Yeah, it's stuck. Oh, parents would have to start being parents again if there was no internet. Oh, they'd hate that. They'd have to start watching their kids. Let's see if I can find a little tassel for the bottom. Let's see if we could find a little something. put it on the bottom. And green. And let's see, how big is this one? That one is kind of missing a thing. Oh, this one's bigger. This one's not missing anything. But does it go? Don't know if I like this color. I don't know. What about this one? Black. I have this one here. I don't know if the black will go either, but make it over here. What do you think? What do you think? Answer me. I can't hear you. One more thing. Baby one. Let's see what this one is, because like yellowy, beigey. Oh, this one might be nice. Got some yellow up in there. This isn't like yellow, but what is that? Put it up here? No. I could probably cut some of that off. Yeah, let's do that. I always have trouble cutting these because, oh boy, how do you cut this? That's gonna be a hard one. Huh. How do you cut this at? I'm afraid that's gonna come off. I have to put my hot glue on. It's like, where do you cut this at? It's so weird because it's not separate. It's all like one. So that's kind of bizarre. Cut it in between here, I guess. Yeah. Do it like that. Weird. Oh, this is stressing me out. I don't like it anymore. It seems like a lot of trouble is what that seems like to me. It really does. It's just seeming like way too much trouble for me to go through at this time, at this juncture. I don't really want to do it. So, let's see what else I got in here then. Get out of the way. Ooh. Maybe I have like a lace or something instead. I have this leafy, lacy thing. Stick this fired. You're both fired. This one's like partially dyed. So I just have to finish dyeing it, I guess. It's dyed like every other section, which is bizarre. So, okay, I'll just spray it with something, make it work. I don't want it to go from there to there. If there was no internet, we'd have to meet people. Like out in the real world. Ugh, nobody wants to do that. I ain't got time for that either. That's a bunch of garbage. Much simpler times back then. It did take you longer to figure out somebody was a jackass, though, back then. Because now with the internet, you got too much opportunity to talk too much to somebody, whether it's online or on Facebook, and see every aspect of their lives, which you couldn't do before. So you get to know people quicker. Which I guess can be good, but I guess I should just do the whole thing, because otherwise give credit to the people that are able to get these big journals done in a matter of a couple days. I don't know how they do it. I really don't. It's shocking to me when I see somebody. I mean, I'm assuming that, you know, that's all they're doing all day is just that, but I'd get bored just doing that all day. But then again, I have ADD, so doing one thing all the time bores me. That's why I can't do one craft. I have to do resin, and then switch to journals, and then do cards, do mixed media, because I get bored. It's like my brain needs extra stimulation or something for me to keep interested in it. I also don't do good with things that take a long time to do. Like any craft that takes over a period of a lot of days. Like, I don't mind the journaling because I can work on, you know, I can work on it over time. But like, you know, some of the, like the resin. I like the resin. I really love it, actually. But part of me hates the fact that it takes, you know, several days to get a result. You know what I mean? I love the result, but... And then there are some crafts like crocheting where you're just basically doing the same thing for a week, 2 weeks, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on end. And that I can't do. Because that's the same thing. There's really not much change to it. You're not like, you know, like if I do this page and then I can work on a different page and it's completely different and I'm doing completely different things. Whereas if you're quilting or crocheting, any of that stuff, it's like you're doing the exact same thing basically every day that you're working on it. And see, that's too much for me. That is just a bit much for me. All right. Well, besides that, let's see. I don't think I need anything else off of that. But... kind of like that. Make it a little thicker. Give it a little more personality. I'll dye it too. go. I wish I had that kind of patience. I wish I didn't have ADD issues and problems keeping a focused. That would be wonderful. I mean, there are times in my life where I feel like that, but... And people say to me all the time, oh, you have patience. Look how long you sit there and you'll do a live stream, you'll this and that, blah, 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 blah. But see, yeah, for things I want to do, and as long as it's keeping my interest and I'm doing it and I haven't really done it. Like, I don't like, some people could sit there and they make like a bunch of things, you know, they'll do one thing, but they'll do it 1,000 times. They'll have a bunch of it. So they'll do like, you know, I've seen people that'll do like, you know, they'll make those boho beads or whatever. And they'll do like, you know, they'll do that for like a week straight. That's all they'll do. They'll make 500 of these boho beads. I cannot do that. Like, that's just, I can't. I wish I could, because then you know, you bang things out that way. But see, I can't do that. I can't. That's so much. That's just the same thing. You know, you're making the same things over and over and over and over. This is why I jump. This is why my YouTube channel is, this day we're doing this, and this day we're doing something completely different. This day we're doing something completely different. It has to be something, you know, that I'm in the mood for, that I feel like my brain can focus on for more than like 10 seconds. It sucks. I feel for anybody that's got ADD. And it's so funny because I didn't realize I had it pretty much all my life, because I've always kind of been that way. But I did have more patience. I was not this bad. I was much better, because I could sit down and do certain things for a lot longer time back then. And I could concentrate, and I would think of things to do that were, you know, I mean, I used to do a lot more things, but see, it was usually all things that were new to me. Like, it was all like, ooh, I have an idea, and I would do it, and it would take, you know, days and days to do it, and I would do it. You know, like, that was different to me. But if I had to keep doing that same thing over and over again after I did it once, I'd be like, You know what I mean? Other people might love doing that, but I don't. Which is why when I had my house cleaning business, it was so great, because every day I was in a different location. I was never in the same location doing the same thing every day. I was always in a different location doing different things, which was great for my ADD. And back then I didn't even know I had ADD. That's the thing. Like, I had no idea until it got so bad. And it got so bad after I had stopped cleaning because I couldn't do it anymore. So it was like, all of a sudden, I think I was faced with, okay, I'm realizing some things about myself, because for years I kept busy doing 7 million different things work-wise that I never actually just was sitting down doing nothing and realizing, you know, and doing just a hobby, you know, because I mean, I always did something. I was always doing some sort of work, but what I mean is, like, because I spent so much time outside of the house doing this and that, and I was always on the go, and I had a lot more people in my life back then and things going on in my life, that it was never the same. But once I was home all the time, you know, it just, actually, no, I was cleaning houses when I realized I have ADD. That's right. I was cleaning houses when I first, but then see, I was first diagnosed when that's right, I was cleaning houses. It wasn't after I quit. I was cleaning houses, because I remember the first time that I ever took medication for my ADD, I was like, oh, you know, I can concentrate, you know, blah, blah, blah. So it was definitely, I was definitely at the tail end of it. I may have worked for another year, before, you know, I was sick and all that stuff was happening. But see, I didn't take medication the whole time, because I took the medication for a short period of time and then I quit taking it because I didn't like it. I found myself not liking it and not feeling like I liked it very much. But then when I was off of it, and over the next couple of years, or the next like, I don't know, maybe 2 years, my ADD got so much worse, and I realized, okay, I'm not doing so hot here without the medication. I didn't like the medication, but, you know, and I realized that it was just, A, I didn't have the right dose, and B, it just, sometimes, you know, and I found this to be true for myself. I don't know about anybody else. Sometimes I can try a medication, and I'm like, oh, I don't like it. It's not working. It's not for me, you know, and then as long as I didn't have like wonky, weird side effects that were like really bad, which I often do with a lot of medications, you know, I'll revisit that medicine down the line. For some reason, if I revisit it down the line on occasion, it'll be okay. And whether it's because my brain knows what to expect, and for some reason I go into it differently, or I just get to the point where I'm frustrated and I need to try the medicine again because I'm at my wit's end. I don't know, but it seems like, you know, it works. You know, I don't know. Because there was another medicine I'm trying to think of that either didn't work or I didn't like, and then I took it and it was okay. I'm trying to think what the heck that was. Or maybe it was just the Adderall. I don't know. But anyway, all I know is it worked much better the second time. Don't know why. Much better. Like, I felt like I was more in control of it. And maybe because I think the doctor that prescribed it to me the first time, I didn't like him, and he was shady and weird, and I didn't trust him at all. And maybe that's a lot to do with it. Plus, I was on a higher dose, and I think that higher dose was too much for me. And, you know, yeah, I think a lot of factors had to do with it, but sometimes it happens that way, and I've heard of other people this happening to, where you'll take it once and, you know, not like it, but then a few years down the line you might revisit it, you know, as long as it didn't give you any crazy side effects, and it might work better. And I don't know why it does that. So sometimes it's good to revisit a medicine that you didn't think was working well, you know, for whatever, even if it just, it didn't really work. Try it again in like 3 or 4 years, because your body might react to it differently. It's very odd. Very odd. But I've heard of other people happening to. And if any of you have had that happen, leave a comment. I'm curious, because I can't talk. It's not a live stream. I decided not to do it live stream because it was like the middle of the night, and I didn't want to, if I need to stop for some reason, I can just stop the video for the time being. And I thought, well, I don't want to start a live stream in case I need to stop for some reason or get something done or whatever, but I don't care right now. Jeez. I haven't put a video out in a really long time. And I thought, well, I kind of miss putting a video out. Because then I don't feel like sometimes when I do a live stream, I feel like, I don't know, I start to get self-conscious about it, you know, like most humans do when they're doing something where they're doing it live in front of people or whatever. You get self-conscious, not about what I'm doing, but whether I'm talking enough, or whether I'm, you know, whatever, just whatever. Whether anybody cares about what I'm doing, you know, as far as crafting goes. Like, I don't know. In videos, I don't have anybody to please. You know, obviously I'll put the video up, but it's not like an immediate somebody right there saying something or not saying something to that I have to worry about. You know what I mean? So sometimes it's easier to do a video, I guess. Ow. And it is too, in case, like I said, if I can split up a video where I can't as much split up a live stream. I can't say, okay, you know, I'm going to come on for an hour and then I'll have to get off here for, you know, 2 hours, and then I can come back on, you know, later, you know, and it's kind of weird, and it's a pain in the ass to do that. This way I can just hit record and I can stop it, you know, not that I have yet, but I almost did a little while ago because I was going to stop, but I said, I'll stay and at least finish this much of it. That looks cool. You just can't do anything like that to the inside. But it looks like you can, you know, obviously put pictures and stuff on it, and it seems to be fine. And whatnot. Let's see, what else do I want to put on here? Because Maybe a couple flowers or something. I have flowers. It's like a... Could put that. I don't really want to cover up the typewriter though. It seems a little big for this, maybe. Maybe I'll add that. That would be kind of cute to put around here. Good idea. Like that. I'll cut this off. I knew that was going to fall off if I did that. Cut it a little too close. That's okay. So I got that. This, but I'd have to dye it. I have to dye most of these, I think. Let me see if there's any in this drawer over here. They're a little bit bigger. Do you have any little ones? Not really. And this one is kind of big again. Oh, it just seems too big. It just seems too big. I have this one. There we go. Put that there like that. I'm going to have to dye it. Dang it. But at least it's the right size and shouldn't need too much to make it colored the way I want it. What the hell is that? Some weird crunchy thing on here. What the? Don't know what that is. What you doing on my flower? Who you think you is? Alright, I'll dry this. That went from being pink to like blah. Hopefully when I dry it, it'll be a little more pink. Maybe not. I washed the snot out of the pink of this flower. It's like pink who? I could put some pink back in it. I sure can. I think. Maybe. Pink. What are they doing in there? Whoa. Avalanche. Craft-a-lanche. What's this one? This got pink in it. Rose quartz. It's kind of pinkish. It's getting there. It's going to add sparkle to it too, but it'll add the pink back to it. Subtle, but sparkly. That'll work. Anybody else out there have ADD? It's funny because I always had a hard time doing things, and I barely ever did homework, ever. It was so rare that I did homework. I don't even know how I got through school. I did such little homework. I always scraped through by the skin of my teeth somehow, but I didn't really do homework. I didn't study, didn't do homework. I just couldn't force myself to do it. And my parents were not very, I mean, it was the 80s, early 90s. My parents, they didn't look into what could be wrong mentally. They just, it was just yell, and scream and think you're going to get a result type of thing. And I just assume everybody's parents was like that in the late 80s and stuff. I just assumed I know they weren't, but I just assumed that's how parents were, nothing you could do about it. I would have had even one friend who like told me, oh, I have ADD, and explained what it was and told me about the medication they take and what it does, I probably would have been like, oh, whoa, maybe I need to go to the doctor, and told my mom, you know what I mean? Because it would have probably made a huge difference in my life. Huge. But, I mean, you know, a lot of parents didn't even know what ADD was. It wasn't like this big, you know, again, the internet makes everything, you know, that's why people know about it nowadays, because it would have still been a mystery to a lot of people. That's another thing, the internet. Can you imagine how much medical science has advanced due to the internet? Because people can then like get on the internet and talk to each other, and you know, like all these new diseases that have come out. I mean, because people can get online and say, I have this going on, and somebody else can go, oh, me too, but the doctor didn't know what it was. And then a bunch of people get together. And then, of course, when a bunch of people with the same stuff get together, then, of course, it makes it more, you know, more so that a doctor or somebody's going to go, wait a minute, we need to look into this. You know what I mean? But when it's not like that, it would have probably been, there's probably a lot of diseases that wouldn't have come out as quickly. I'm thinking. Yeah, I can imagine that doctors have gotten much smarter because of the internet, you know. Some of them will always be stupid, but that's the way it is, I think. Add a little pink to this, maybe like to these little doodads. Into the centers of the flowers or something. They're feeling a little left out. Not really a center to these flowers, is there? Not really. Just kind of a nub. But it would have been great if I would have had a chance to like feel normal when I was a kid and be able to concentrate on homework. So many of my friends, they would, you know, like, even if like, let's say I went to a friend's house after school or something, you know, they'd be sitting there doing their homework, and I'd be like, you know, like, I wouldn't have even thought to bring my books because I didn't care about doing homework. I literally, when I say I didn't do homework, I never did homework. It was such a rarity that I would do homework that it was insane. Which is why I'm always like shocked that I, you know, didn't get left back every damn year. I never got left back, which is shocking. I always got D's and F's, but I got mostly D's. Somehow I maybe they just didn't want me there for the next year. They were like, let's just get her out of here. I wouldn't doubt it if that was how it went. Because, you know, I was not the epitome of the greatest kid. So the schools were probably like, we just need to get her out of here. And they didn't like my parents either, because my mom would think nothing of coming in the school and just like screaming at teachers and principals. And whenever she felt like they were not giving her what she wanted or whatever. Not necessarily about my schoolwork. It would mostly be about if she wanted to take me out of school to go to Florida for 3 months, and the school was like, no, because whatever reason, you know, it was back, I don't know what the deal was, but, and so basically, I think my mom wanted to take me out of school for like 4 months without me having to enroll in school at all. So she wanted me to she wanted them to like basically just give her all the work I was supposed to do, and then I was just supposed to do it. And I thought to myself, I ain't gonna do no work. Like, are you kidding me? If a teacher's not standing over top of me, I ain't doing nothing. Like, I knew that wasn't gonna happen. I just was like, but I didn't care, because I was like, cool, you know, don't have to do anything. You know, but, you know, I just knew, I'm thinking to myself, I ain't doing nothing. But I guess the school board said no to my parents about that. I guess because I was such a crappy student. Because I had a friend who had to move and wanted to finish school in the school that she was in. And this is when she was in I want to say 8th grade. And it was like 2 months before the end of that 8th grade. And she was wanting to finish out and graduate with the 8th graders, but she was moving not out of state, but she was moving far enough away where she would have had to go to a different school for the last 2 months of school. So what they did was they gave her all the work, just like my parents wanted to do. They gave her mom all the work because she was an A student. So they gave her the work and they let her finish it all, at home. And she was able to come back and graduate. All her parents had to do was just drive back for the graduation. So obviously they weren't going to let me do that because I was a F-up kid who didn't do her homework, and they knew that, and they were probably like, she ain't gonna do no work. This child's gonna sit home and not do nothing. So they forced my parents. They said, if you want to take her out of school, you have to enroll her for more than a month. I think they said, if you want to take her for more than a month, you have to enroll her in school. So now this part I was not happy about at all. So when we went down, my parents had a house in Florida. We lived in New Jersey. And so when we went, they wanted to go to Florida from usually we would go a couple times a year and we would stay for a few weeks. Like during Christmas vacation, we would go to Florida. So I'd spend Christmas in Florida. I hated that because I didn't have snow for Christmas and it kind of sucked. And then spring break, we would be in Florida. And we would always take extra time. Even though the vacation was over after a week, we would take an extra 4 days. And then on top of it, I was always sick, so my attendance was always terrible. And then summer, of course, we were down in Florida. But apparently my parents decided that they wanted to go down to Florida for, I think, Thanksgiving, from Thanksgiving all the way to February or something. So November, December, January, February. It was I know it was 4 months. And I was at first, when it was, oh yeah, my mom was yeah, well, we're just going to get your schoolwork and you can just do it at home. I'm thinking, oh yeah, sure. I didn't even care if I got left back. I didn't even care. I just didn't care. I didn't have any interest in it because it was just so hard for me to do. I just couldn't focus on any of that stuff, ever. It was very rare that I could focus. But when it ended up that I was going to have to physically be put into a school down there, I was miserable. I hated it. The schools in Florida were terrible. Terrible. I lived in a really nice area and our school was really nice. And even though I didn't like school anyway, I didn't like the people in that school, at least it wasn't just very bad. It was a bad school that I went to. Even though we were in a nice area of Florida, the school in that area now it's different there because if I would go to the same town now, they have their own school. But when I was a kid, we had to be bused to the other school somewhere. I don't know, but it was not in the same area. And it was just there was just a lot of things going on in that school with these kids because, they're I'll give you a for instance. So, well, let's put it this way. Just to give some context. So, the school in Vernon was, 99.9% white kids. Parents of, a lot of them had money, that type of thing. The other school that I went to, kind of the opposite of that. And for somebody like me I was very sheltered. I had no idea what to expect. But that was crazy. It was craziness. The teachers they couldn't have cared less about doing their job. The kids in the school were ridiculous because the teachers didn't care. And they just looked the other way so much a lot of times that the kids were just crazy. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. And I just did not have a good time. I was traumatized pretty much, because, like one day I was in class and the teacher got so pissed off at this kid that she forced him to come to the front of the class. Now, keep in mind, I was like 8, 9 years old when this was going on, 10 maybe at the very oldest. I was definitely in either elementary school or like the first year of middle school or something like that. But it was, it was elementary school for sure. I think I was in 4th grade. Yeah, I was like in 4th grade. And the teacher decided that she had had enough of this one student in the back of the class who would not stop like being awful. So she screamed at him and told him to come to the front of the class and sit in the desk at the front of the class, in the front row. And he just was not having it. So he gets up and he comes to the front of the class. He throws his books on the floor. And then she told him to pick them up. And this became like this battle all of a sudden. And so then he said, he was like swearing at her. This is 4th grade. This is not what I was used to. Like I said, in 6th grade, let's put it this way. In 6th grade, I said the teacher was passing around a test. Now, this is in New Jersey again. Teacher's passing around a test, a pop quiz thing. And I said, oh man, this sucks. And I said it kind of under my breath, but she heard me. And I got a Saturday detention for saying this sucks. Okay? And this kid, now this is 2 years prior, and this kid's swearing F word, calling the teacher the B word, and he's the same age as me, like 10 years old. And I'm just like, I was in shock. It was absolute culture shock for me all the way around. Just because the teachers in that school were terrible, and they didn't care, and the only reason that teacher got mad was because, or cared, was, but she didn't even it was just terrible. And so she took this kid, right? So after going back and forth with this kid in a way that she shouldn't have been going back and forth with him. Like looking back on it now, it was inappropriate the way she was battling with him. She should have just sent him to the principal's office or sent him out. But it was like she was enjoying herself, torturing the hell out of this kid, even though he was a little ass and he deserved it. But she was not handling it the proper way, I feel. At all. Well, looking back on it, then I didn't know what the hell to think. I remember just sitting there and I remember going home and just crying, please don't send me back there. It was miserable. And then, so anyway, the teacher and the kid are going back and forth, and all of a sudden the kid gets up, goes over to the teacher's desk, and she had this big book, like a textbook, up there. He starts ripping pages out of it and throwing them. I was like, oh my God, please let me go. I just want to go home. I need to get the hell out of here. I instantly knew that this was going to be a bad idea. I was like, oh my God, I just want to go home. So the teacher takes him, drags him by the arms and throws him into the seat, the chair, and duct tapes him to the chair, to the desk, because the desks are connected to the chair, She takes the tape, a roll of duct tape, and duct tapes it to his lap so he couldn't get up. His lap, she just kept going around with it. And literally, he sat there for the rest of the class, duct taped to a chair. My ignorant, entitled little ass had no idea what I was like. That was just too much for me. I was just like, what in the hell? Of course, I almost became worse than that kid when I got into high school, but at the time I was 10 years old and I was just like, wait a minute, what's going on here? So, and my brother had similar issues in his school. We all were just miserable. But see, my parents back then, they could have cared less whether we were miserable, as long as they were happy getting what they wanted. That's all they cared about. It was oh, you're just exaggerating. Now go to school, blah blah blah. But my mom did have a problem because it was kind of ironic. They paddled my brother, which they didn't do that in New Jersey. That was a no-no. And in Florida, that was a thing. apparently. The teacher or the principal or somebody can paddle your kid. Which I was also like, what? They can spank your kid? That was like, to me, that was also weird. And my mom went ballistic and was like, you know, screaming at them and I thought to myself, what are you mad at? You beat his ass all the time. I thought to myself, that's kind of like crazy. Like, what's she so mad about? My brother gets his ass beat all the time. And I guess I thought to myself, well, I guess my mom and dad are the only ones that are allowed to beat his ass, I guess. I don't know what he did wrong. I don't remember, but he must have done something. My brother was a troublemaker, though, so he belonged in that damn school, I guess. Now, I think he was a bit stunned at first about that school, too. He was 14, so he was probably caught smoking or something. That's around the time my brother started to be... I mean, my brother was always an ass, and he was always a handful, but in school... Well, I mean, he did leave school when he was like 15, 16 or something. I don't remember. But he really became a troublemaker after he was like 14, 15. I don't know, I just never seen a school so poorly run. And at the time I was like, oh, like I will never. Luckily, we never had to go back to school down there. I was so happy about that. And like every year I feared that my mom was going to say, well, we're going to go back down for a few months or something like that. And I would have freaked. I would have panicked. I didn't ever want to do that again. I hated it. There was a girl on the bus that used to torment me to death every day. She used to tell me she was going to spoon my eyeballs out to a 10-year-old. And she was a high school kid. Why a high school kid was on the... I guess the two schools were next to each other. I don't remember, but she was in high school. I remember that. And I was only in 4th grade. And, you know, that also was a shock to me to see these older kids on my bus. I was always like, what the hell? It was always crazy to me to see these older kids on the bus. But I guess they got bused with the same buses to go to the high school or something. But this one girl, she was terrible. She used to say the most awful things to everybody. But I was the new girl, so of course she loved saying terrible things to me that at the time I had no idea how to respond to her. I have these like, this one broke. These are like porcelain. They're petite roses. Petite roses. Not even opened, but a couple of them broke. Got these at the Creative Reuse a while back. Maybe I'll snag one of those out of there. I don't really have anywhere to put it. It's a little high. Yeah, it's too high up. Never mind. It's not going to stick up too much. Maybe I'll just stick that blue one because there's blue up there, so I want to bring it down there. Maybe I won't do those two. But yeah, I'm so glad I never had to go back to that school. So glad. It was too traumatizing for my dumbass at the time. Little did I know that just a couple years later, it would have been nothing at that point, almost. for the cover. Maybe I do have like a sentiment thing I could put on there. Like a not like the regular sentiments. I have some. Are they under here maybe? Okay. These little things here. I don't think they say much that I can use on this. You know, they say like dates and stuff, or months, I mean. That ain't gonna help me. Let's see. Get this drawer open a little further to be able to get in there, but there we go. What's underneath of all this other crap? These too, but I don't know if they go without some tarnishing or something. I like this one because I like the letters on it are like what a typewriter would have typed out. I think I like that one. Plastic, so I could just put them down with hot glue and they would stick pretty well, but I want to muck them up a little bit. They're too clean looking. Let's see. What can I use? Knock that over. Knocking things over. I don't know. I think it's not going to be a pain in the ass to do. That's for sure. Let's see if I have a... maybe. Maybe not. Down here. Something in the drawer, that would help. That would be half the battle. What if I put some Stays On ink over it or something? Because that's the only ink that's going to stick to this, most likely. Otherwise, it's too clean looking. Oh, wait, I have an idea. I have an idea. Let's see. these gel stains. Maybe that'll do something. I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. If not, I'll take it off. Let's see, if not that, then don't really like that. What about, oh wait, what about my, okay, might help if I got stuff out of this so I can shut this drawer. Because without the drawer shut, I can't get to the other things. Goodness gracious. Mess. Mess. What about some of, I dropped the flowers on the floor. How the hell did I do that? There we go. Make it like a, like more of an antique bronze color rather than bright silver. Sort of. Sorta, kinda. Alright, let me dry this a little bit. Pop up. Now I could take a little of this. Actually, a little of that black and this brush. I can make that much darker. Oh, is it going to take off the brown? No, but it made it look kind of neat. Okay. Okay then. Maybe. That's not the best ink to put on your fingers. That stuff stains like crazy. Too late now. It's all over me. I don't know if that's ever going to dry. Maybe I can get a little this color. It will look a little patina-ish, sort of. Just a little. Not too much, just a little. bright, untarnished silver to fit in with the... That's the thing with, like, when you're doing anything vintage, you have to make everything. If you're going to make one thing vintage, you got to make everything vintage. You can't just go, well, I'm going to make this vintage, but, you know, and then stick things on that are not vintaged or inked or grunged. You have to do everything or else it doesn't go. It'll stand out like a sore thumb and it will just not look authentic, you know? So it's important to, if you're going to do one thing, you got to do them all. And you can't just, you know, like, I'm going to do the background and then I'm not going to do anything with the flowers or whatever. You know, you have to kind of do all of it to give it that kind of cohesive look. Now I need two things to go on either side there to look like little, which I can use some pearls. I have those teeny tiny little pearls. And they will, if I take some stuff to rub on them, that could work if they're not already, if I don't have a color, which I have a lot of colors of pearls, but I don't have a lot of teeny tiny ones. I do have these little white ones in here. I use some sort of a rub stuff to do that. Although, I do have these little blue ones. That's not blue. That ain't blue. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Let's see. I'll still make them look a little older, but it'll also help bring the blue into things. It'll bring the blue into things. Okay, so to make that stand out, I gotta get over here. This back. I have to use this again. This one should do the trick. It's gonna be hard to hold. It might be better if I did it when they're on there. Yeah, because it's gonna be hard to get them to stick around without moving around the whole time. But once they're stuck, I'm just gonna use this hot glue. Okay. Now if they're stuck and they can't move, it's a heck of a lot easier to get this on there. Alright. I think that cover is done. Sweet. Oh, I might put some stickles on those flowers, but I'll do that in a second. That's the only other thing I'm going to do is put stickles on the flowers on the picture. But I think that looks pretty good. Pretty good. Let's see. Stickles. Oh, then I'll have to leave it after this then, I guess. I forgot. If I'm putting stickles on it, I can't turn it over and do anything else with it. I kept thinking in my head I could pull the things completely out, and I'm like, oh yeah, duh. Can't do that. Duh. Put little stickles here. Alrighty then. Cool beans. I can pull it out. Oh, but don't turn it over. I think it came out really cool. What you think? You gonna give it a try? Give it a try. It's a lot of fun. They're cute. They don't take that long to do. A little longer to decorate it than, but to make it, doesn't take that long. I don't think. Less than an hour. Right? I don't remember how long it took me to make the one on camera. But, yeah. So give it a try, and if you do it, in the description of the video, there's a box, and it'll say things like, click the show more to see everything. It'll say show more, and it'll be like link, and if you click it, it'll open the description box. And there's links to my group, my Facebook group, the Pink Poodle Pack Creative Playground. Yeah, you can, if you're not a member to that, you should sign up and be a member, and then you can post your pictures of the things you make. Doesn't matter what it is, anything that you make, any kind of art. But if you make one of these, for sure, I'd like to see it. And also there's links to my Patreon, to my Zibbit store, where you can buy, I have, discount craft supplies, and I just put my hands in the stickles. And, yeah. And my Patreon, we do classes. We're doing a a live class where I'm going to show all the different ways you can dye paper with, whether it's coffee, with Kool-Aid, with, all the things. So we're doing that for our class this month. We're doing a swap in the Patreon. We have a special Patreon group on Facebook that's only for my Patreon members, and we're doing a swap in there. So yeah, if you've not joined my Patreon, check it out. The links are below. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I appreciate you hanging out and watching for the last 2 hours and 20 minutes of your life. And yeah, have a good day. Make sure you do what you love and love what you do, and be nice to people. Bye.